Radical. Now that's the word the Shari government and the mainstream media are using to describe student movement.
However, the police do not hesitate to use violence to crack down on this movement. So, who is really radical?
So who is really radical?
So, who is really radical?
So who is really radical?
We have to ask for things that we want. And too bad for Liberal Party if what we think is too radical or too left for them. But that's a society we want, and that's the direction we want to go in. And it's not. This is not only radical left who's talking about it, but the overall, privatization of public services, our healthcare. They are imposing this health tax, the hydro rates that are increasing. So all these things we have to talk about, and we are thinking about our environment, about the earth. We are thinking about like indigenous people, and not against the stealing of their land for what, like for mines and
with a few diamonds on a few people's fingers.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, I personally don't think it's radical. I don't know. I guess then the meaning of radical is kind of to be defined. But I think it's justifiable. It's not, and this is a mass movement.
It's a little bit more than 3,000 people that were arrested since the beginning of the strike. People had passed a night in jail, some just few hours, and some had passed days. But the real repercussions for more like criminal record, we don't know right now, because legal procedures are really long. And when you have a criminal charge, it can take more than a year to know if you'll be recognized guilty or not. So until now, the big repercussion, the worst thing are the conditions. When you have a criminal charge, you have some condition. For example, some people cannot approach more than 300 meters from the university or from any schools. I know some people also that have a curfew. They have to be at home at 10 p.m. until early in the morning. They're not allowed to go out at night, and this is gonna be and some of them it's gonna last a year like this, that they won't be able to get out of their home after a time, and they're not even guilty yet. Some people that lost eyes, some people that lost their teeth because of some plastic bullets. Those people file a complaint with under the Code of Ethics of Quebec police officer. The thing with the Code of Ethics of Quebec police officer is that usually the ends that you meet the police officer that made you the injury, it doesn't really change anything to the police officer. But right now we're gonna start some civil procedure with some people and help them with the fees, and we are in contact with the lawyers about that. Well, it's true that really lately there have been many countries and also organizations that are starting to wake up, if I can say, and to see there's a movement here, and that we are receiving an international support. So this is really good, because also we have to remember our struggle is not only local, but it's international. So it's a little bit shy of Amnesty International to ask for
Investigation?
an investigation right now, since they should have been involved in this struggle since the beginning, since they have positions about the right of studying for everybody, and also against the raise of tuition fees. If you have any legal questions, well, we're not lawyers, so we do not give legal advice, but we do work with lawyers. If you have any questions or you want more information, you can call us at 438-933.
After May 18th, when the law was the projet de loi or the Bill 78 was announced, there was a class divided, and they called for a demonstration. They didn't comply with the law, and there were 300,000 people on the streets. So class is not doing it by themselves, and it's not just this radicals extreme left who are doing it, right? And then we had the casseroles happening in almost every corner of Montreal. Now we have popular general assemblies that's happening where the citizens are discussing alternatives, discussing, okay, so what do we want? What are our demands? So if anything, the student movement that started off like on this 1625, it broadened it so much that in some ways, I don't know if it's like appropriate to say this, but I would say it's like in some ways empowered the communities. But it's not a radical movement in that sense. It's actually a very inclusive, and if you see this manifest, it talks about like ensemble, what we can do, like together what we can do, and I think that's true.
Like, I like to think that any effective politics not only works within whatever framework you have, but like changes that framework actively. And that's obviously what we're doing right now with the student movement, but that's what the Liberals did, for as long as people didn't do anything about what they did. Like they've been actively reorganizing the state, they've been, transforming our society in a more neoliberal way. They're also doing what you could call an effective type of politics, right? Like they're challenging what people's expectations of what is realistic are, and obviously that's going in a really, really negative direction, and people are starting to expect that corruption is just something that'll happen, and that'll feed into the political system, and what can you do about it, right? But obviously we're challenging those kinds of notions by taking to the streets, and it's funny to see that as soon as we start to bring up themes like free education, which are really just fundamentally social democratic. They're not that radical.
Yeah.
People start to call us radicals, but what is radical? To me, that means like challenging the power that the family has on our lives, like challenging the way that schools are organized, challenging the way that like the state is organized. Like these are things that we're not really talking about, but that would actually radically transform our lives. So don't call us radical. Not yet.
So, who is really radical?